Good evening, everyone. This is the East Aurora Union Free School District Board of Education meeting for Thursday, April 21st. We are returning from executive session where we discussed matters related to pending litigation, the employment history of two particular employees, collective bargaining with the East Aurora Faculty Association, and collective bargaining with the East Aurora Civil Service Personnel Association. Are there any agenda changes?
No.
Okay. We're moving on to item 4, items requiring board action. Item A, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education grant tenure to Patrick Dayton, 1.0 FTE elementary education K through 6 teacher in the tenure area of elementary education effective September 1, 2022.
Hello,
Mr. Dayton.
just wanted to say thank you. It's been
Don't thank us yet.
Oh.
It hasn't happened.
not only for tenure, but no, just for everything that you do. So really.
Thank you very much. Bear with us for 1 minute while we get through the formalities.
Okay.
May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cassidy.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Brunson. Discussion.
Oh, man.
Mr. Mr. Dayton, would you like to say anything at this point?
Yeah, sorry, now
till we
stand
vote?
up.
I'll
We're
go
all
in.
embedded in social cues.
You're so
No, just again, thank you for everything, and I look forward to it. So thank you.
Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Congratulations. Item B, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education grant tenure to Catherine Hannon, 1.0 FTE foreign language 7 through 12 teacher in the tenure area of foreign language effective September 1, 2022. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Ohlweiler,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Malice. Discussion? You want to take it after? We're going all over the place tonight.
Can I go now?
Yeah.
Go for
Okay.
it.
Thank you, and I'm honored to work here, and I'm looking forward to a long future.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Congratulations. We're all about process. I don't want to miss the fun part. Item C. The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education grant tenure to Brian Lombardo, 1.0 FTE health education 7 through 12 teacher in the tenure area of health effective September 1, 2022.
So
May I have a
moved.
motion? Mr. Flowers,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Cassidy. Discussion, comments?
So just want to thank everybody, or hopefully, and the support we get for our ideas and for the students and everything that we did. I want to thank you for all that and the support we've had for the last 4 years. Thank you.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Lombardo. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Congratulations. Item D, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education grant tenure to Emily Rankin, 1.0 FTE elementary education teacher K through 6 in the tenure area of elementary education effective September 1, 2022. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cassidy,
Second.
seconded by Mrs. Malice.
Hope you know you're giving a 2-for-1 10-year special today. Thank you so much. I feel so grateful to work in such a wonderful district, and hopefully, when you all say yes, to have this district be my forever home.
Well, welcome to both of you.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Thank you. Welcome. Item E, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education grant tenure to Courtney Vitello, 1.0 FTE elementary education K through 6 teacher in the tenure area of elementary education effective September 1, 2022. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Ohlweiler. Second.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Cassidy.
Yes, it's my turn. A lot to follow up. I just want to say thank you. The past 4 years has been crazy, but it has been such a learning experience. I'm very happy to be here. I'm excited for the future of the brings. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
So again, I'd like to congratulate those that are receiving tenure today. Tenure is in the district. We take our instruction very seriously. We spend a great deal of time trying to find the best teachers that we possibly can to fit within our community. And so we're always really grateful for their expertise and all the time and effort that they put in. To watch them grow over that 4-year period is really quite excellent. And so we just want to say thank you for the great work that you've done, and we're looking forward to really bright futures from all of you. Today is a little bit of a unique celebration because we decided to invite those that were that received tenure for the last 2 years because they couldn't be here because of COVID. So some of them have been able to join us, and I'm just going to do a quick an announcement of those who I believe are here, and then I'll see who might be here that it's not on my list. So first is Matt Leibrock. And Matt he was the director of health, physical education, and athletics, and he received his tenure in October of 2019. Next is Matt Brown, our middle school principal, and he received his tenure February 12th of 2020. So congratulations to both of you. Next up is Tara Arnold, who received tenure in the area of English at the high school. Ms. Arnold, are you here?
Yep.
Yes, stand up. Stand up. Mrs. Winnack, who has worked for us both at the high school and the middle school, received tenure in the area of special education. Congratulations. Next up is Jessica Lyons, who at the time was tenured as our elementary principal, and now she's not here. Oh, that's right. I'm sorry about that. Well, she was tenured as our elementary principal, and now she sits in the role of director of curriculum and instruction. So congratulations, Jessica. Next is Mark Mambretti, who received tenure as the director of curriculum and instruction and personnel, but now he is in the role of assistant superintendent. So there he is. And AV, right? So Mark, congratulations. And then next up is Ethan Hansen, who teaches physics, and he received his area in the area of science at the high school. Ethan, congratulations. Next is Kirk Schranz, who received tenure in social studies. He also works at the high school. Congratulations, Kirk. Stacy Sonner. Stacy with us? Yeah, there she is. Great. Yeah, Stacy, nice to see you. Yeah, she received tenure as a speech pathologist and is primarily working at Parkdale. Yes, great. And then we're going to be celebrating tenure in August, and our very own school business administrator, Joanne George, will be receiving tenure at that time. So congratulations. Now, is there anyone else I may have missed? No, okay, well, this was correct. Excellent. So what I'd like to do right now is to bring you all over, take a quick picture, and then we'll celebrate and have some cupcakes and water. So come on out.
There's no cake to cut.
Yeah, no cake.
Thank you, everyone. We are moving on to board presidents and board member. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll go ahead and back to these.
I just wanted to share this with the board. This is in regard to school safety from the National Insurance. We won the 2022 School Safety Excellence Award, presented to Astoria Union Free School District in recognition for the school's outstanding efforts to create a safer school environment, and as direct result of the school's diligence and adherence to safety principles prescribed to safety group members. This certificate is hereby awarded on April 6, 2022. So I just wanted to share this, and that's the 8th year in a row that we've received this award. So I just wanted to-
How many years?
8.
8.
Thank you very much. Congratulations. Go team. Board presidents and board member comments. The policy committee will be meeting this coming Monday. The links to the policies we are to review came from Mr. Mambretti, but you'll see them in your shared file. So if you don't see them, holler to Mr. Mambretti. Thank you very much. That is a ton of work. And anything further? Let's go there.
We had a capital facilities meeting yesterday. I know at the last meeting I had discussed the potential of the capital outlay going up beyond the 100,000, and unfortunately that was not approved. Therefore, it stays at the 100,000. The committee went through the building condition survey, and we created a tentative priority list for each school. And I'm expanding on the one that I mentioned the last time we were together. Parkdale, the 3 items that we are currently looking at are to replace the PA system, to replace the existing clocks, and to add a new carbon monoxide system with increased coverage throughout the school. Middle school, which is where most of the work is going to be done, the plan is to renovate the existing bathrooms, to renovate the fax room, replace 10 interior doors, do a facelift of the West Gym. The scope is yet to be determined, but it will hopefully include padding, lighting, and a scoreboard. Modernize the elevator, upgrade the air conditioning system, upgrade the HVAC system on the first floor, library renovation, finish the first floor hallway renovations, add second floor AC, and replace the roof that was put in 1997. And the high school, the list includes replacing the tennis courts with drainage improvements and redoing the parking lot and the driving lanes. There are additional items that are still being considered, but it depends upon costs and the needs. We will need to approve the project in July or August for a December vote, and that is the plan right now, is to have a December vote. Then it would go to SED for review, which we all know takes many months. Bids would be accepted in the fall of 2023, and construction would hopefully start in the spring of 2024. Any questions? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Nope, that's it. Thank you.
Mrs. Malik?
Nope, nothing tonight.
Mr. Cassidy?
Just that the night after our last board meeting was the delegate assembly meeting for the Erie County Association of School Boards. At that meeting, the nominating committee presented us with the executive board member nominees, and we approved that. We approved the investment policy, and we got a look at the calendar for 22-23. And then the round robin of all the schools. I'm not going to go into the details. Lots of capital projects, lots of musicals and stuff like that. But I did share with them the Blue Devil designs, and there was a lot of, especially the work that our district has done with Alden to understand theirs. There was a lot of interest in that. So it was something that I think was a good one to share.
That's the best part of that committee, is that 2-minute exchange. It allows you to reach out to someone in another district who may be doing something that we could utilize in ours. And you get to know more than just the politics of Albany and all the stuff associated with budgets. You get to know what their vision is in their school district for their students and the exciting things that they're doing. So I'm glad you're attending that, Joe. Thank you.
Yeah, and actually, Dan, I appreciate you commenting, because it made me think a couple of things. So one is, I glossed over the round robin. I do have my notes on what everybody said, if anybody is interested in the details of it. The one thing I do recall was a representative from Ear One BOCES talked about the, was it the E-Academy? And the success that they've had with that, not just locally, but students as far away as New York City participating in their E-Academy. And I thought that was notable. And something else that was brought up was, they have there's the legislative breakfast in the fall. They're talking about trying to do a follow-up type event at the end of the year, where the legislators can come and say, okay, now this is what happened during the year, and this is what you can do for us as far as helping us to push some of these items along. So I thought that was an interesting idea, and they're looking at the possibility of adding that next year. So.
Very much. Flowers?
Nothing tonight.
Thank you. Mr. Brunson?
Thank you. I attended a couple of things. I assume we're going to hear a little bit later about the effort for revising the code of conduct. So I attended that meeting along with several board members and others from the district. And the ball is rolling, and I look forward to expeditiously revising the code of conduct. The other thing I did since the last board meeting was to attend the state's webinar on NYSBA's webinar on the New York State budget, the approved budget, and lots of details associated with the budget. But the two things that leap to mind are the fact that they did not increase the amount for the construction projects that are done annually. It was hopeful that was going to go from 100,000 to 250,000, and it stayed at 100,000. So they're going to continue to work on that, but it didn't happen for this year. The other thing that was really good news for us was that there's an increase in the aid for the universal pre-K program. So the UPK program now is funded in our district sufficiently, I believe, to accommodate all the people who have requested a spot. So that's darn good news.
Thank you, Mr. Brunson. Are there any administrators who would like to share anything with the board tonight? Yes, Mr. Brown.
I have two things. Good evening. First of all, it's with great excitement that I ask you to save the date on Wednesday, May 18th. We are bringing the LEAP capstone back to Knox Mansion. We have 28 students who will be participating in that. You may recall a few years ago we did that, and unfortunately, the past couple of years we have not been able to. So we booked that, and we are ready to go. So there will be formal invites sent out, but I just want you to save the date. We really hope that you can all make it. And second, Dan did mention the code of conduct. We met this week. Really, it wasn't a formal meeting. It was really just a time where TC, who is one of the leaders of the code of conduct through Erie One BOCES, and really she works with districts all across the state. She just helped us to lay the groundwork to understand what are the procedures and the right process to go through to make sure that we are updating our code of conduct to accurately reflect the times that we're currently in. So we had a great meeting, and now we're at the point where the month of May, we are going to convene that meeting. We're going to start gathering the members of that committee together and start reviewing the code. And she is going to help lead that charge, which we're very thankful for her expertise to be there. But like Dan said, we are starting that, and we hope to make it a pretty quick but efficient process. So if anyone has questions at any time, please feel free to send me an email. Thank you.
Thank you. All set. Anyone else? Mr. Robert?
Quickly, I wanted to update the board. We have approximately 17 students who are interested in Blue Devil design for next year, and 15 of them.
Thank you.
I can't hear you.
So we have 17 students who are interested in Blue Devil design. 15 of them today spent the afternoon in Albany and met with the students, met with the teachers, and came back really excited. We're going to process that visit tomorrow morning. My hope is at our next meeting, I'll come with formal course descriptions and program descriptions for the course catalog. So just wanted to give you an update on that progress.
What grade level?
So, Judy, 13 of the 15 are sophomores and juniors. We had 2 freshmen who
Oh,
wanted
that's
to
wonderful.
attend, and we didn't want to turn them away. We had 2 individuals who weren't able to attend, so a nice, 9 through 11 representation.
That's great.
And then secondly, I'm going to take advantage of Tara Arnold being here. The unified basketball team is up and running, and Tara knows that Tuesdays and Thursdays you can find me down in the gym observing, maybe a layup or 2, because it's such an exciting thing to be a part of. And I'd like to put her on the spot, number one, and just thank her for her leadership. She's leading the club component of unified basketball.
That's wonderful.
And Emily Krause, a special education teacher, is the coach. And I'm just super excited that we have this opportunity. And I also want to have Tara give you a couple upcoming dates of interest, because everyone in the group should come and cheer on the team at some point. So I apologize.
That's okay. I will say we have some students here who are a part of Unified. I won't put them on the spot. They are here, and they really, our students are what makes this program so successful. For being the first year at our school, it's off to a great start, and it really is through supportive administrators, but really, I biasly, without our students, just 2 of the girls here were on their own free will this morning, working with me on flyers and things like that. A lot of things happen behind the scenes to make things happen. So every Monday, Thursday, we have practices. Our first home game, so our first scrimmage is next Tuesday at Iroquois, so it's not that far away, so anyone who would like to attend can. May 5th is our first home game, and then our students decided that they wanted to do a faculty appreciation game to show their gratitude to our faculty at our school, and that'll be May 12th. And then our last game, I believe, is May 16th. So we have 3 home games. We're hoping to pack the stands. We've had students design T-shirts, design bracelets, do flyers. Like, they're going above and beyond. We have 6 student coaches who are helping. We have partners. Mondays and Thursdays, biasly, are my favorite days of the week. It's really just a great program. It's a win-win for everyone. So if you can be a part of it or just show up for our home games, we'd love it. Again, kudos to the students for making this happen. And people putting PR out there. We have pictures on all our TVs throughout the school. So it really is a group effort. So we appreciate everyone. Such an important program. I went to East Aurora High School. I got involved with Special Olympics when I was in high school. I wish there was a program like this. It's really life-changing thing. So creating inclusion to students with and without intellectual disabilities is just huge. So people have family members, neighbors. So it's awesome. Thank you very much, everyone's support.
Tara, what time are the games?
What time? Oh, good question. All games are at 5 o'clock.
Thank you.
So, yep. And we've had so many students that want to do faculty appreciation that we're going to kind of do the ceremony after, so we don't kind of extend the game so much. But really awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Mr. Leibrock.
I have one other thing to say, but I just want to piggyback off of that. Being involved in athletics for so long, if you have never been to a unified basketball game, you will laugh, cry, smile. If you don't walk out of there feeling really good and having a good time for however long it takes, I probably check your pulse afterwards. So it's an amazing atmosphere. Everybody cheers for everybody, so it's really something to see. So if you can make time to schedule for those, I think. But what I did want to update you on is our summer learning plan. So we're working on that to make sure that we have our programs in place for the summer. So we actually have 2 programs this summer. Typically, we have students who attend the service program, and that would be related to, service through BOCES. And Mrs. Marinaccio decided she wanted to keep herself extra busy this summer, so she decided to bring Surge back in-house for this summer. So we're going to be, although it was housed at Parkdale, but run through BOCES, it'll still be housed at Parkdale and run by our staff under the direction of Mrs. Marinaccio. And we do have summer skills camp returning. It may look a little bit different this summer, but we also think it's going to be better this summer. It's looking right now that the elementary level could have an increase about twofold in the number of teachers and students that will attend K-6, and potentially higher than that with the increased numbers. So we'll work on that structure. We should have that finalized hopefully by the next board meeting and be able to share that with you. But we're really looking forward to that and the opportunity to have our kids in the system.
Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
Any other administrators? Thank you all for being here very much. Now is the portion of the board meeting where we open the floor to community comments. You all have the guidelines listed in your agenda. I'm going to assume that you've all followed them all, and we will go through our stack now. George Schoenman. Oh, yes, I'm sorry. You got new guidance. Please come to the podium. Approach the podium.
Hello.
Hi.
These are strange times. Am I supposed to check if this is on?
No, it's not.
Doesn't seem to be on. Does it need to be?
It's not.
Okay.
That'll pick you up.
Okay. These are strange times. This is true for us all, but few have borne the weight of it like our educators. All of us in the community are so proud of our teachers, our administrators, and staff who continue to make our schools the gleaming gem at the center of our fantastic town. The district employees have dug deep and worked harder probably than they ever have in their careers. But none of it would have been possible, nor would it have been successful without the leadership and guidance of the board. You've given so much of yourselves during these times in ways that are as unexpected as they are important. You might have joined the board to fight for safe schools, but now you must fight to keep our kids safe against people who deny science. You might have joined to maintain high academic standards, but now you must protect our institutions from efforts to censor curricula. You might have joined to work for fiscal responsibility, but now you're faced with time and money wasting shenanigans that do nothing but damage East Aurora schools. You might have simply wanted to serve your community, but now you must suffer attacks to your work and to your character. This might not have been what you signed up for, but let me tell you, as a parent and as a person in the community, this is so important. To the schools, to the community, and most importantly, to our kids. You have my wholehearted appreciation for and support of everything that you do. Please, please be strong in the conviction that you're doing great things. It's a very, very important to all of us.
Thank you, Mr. Schoeneman. David Torp.
I could use a Kleenex. Goodness. The recent revelations that the East Aurora, New York School Superintendent Brian Russ spied on parents in a law firm they consulted should not come as a surprise. Attorney General Merrick Garland created a new pre-election terrorist threat tag last year called EAUFSD, when parents began criticizing school boards across the country regarding the inclusion of critical race theory in school curricula. This provided Brian Russ cover to spy on East Aurora parents. Let's keep in mind that parents have remained civil in the criticisms and have focused on policy at every step. This is the East Aurora I remember, where adults could express different opinions on policy issues and have no fear of reprisal. This, Mr. Russ, is no longer the case. What is profoundly disappointing is that School Board President Jessica Armbrust has failed to issue a statement condemning the superintendent's egregious breach of conduct and behavior that's intended to silence criticism and dissent.
His interference in the parents' group's right to counsel is beyond troubling. I spent considerable time in the German Democratic Republic in the early 80s. Spying was endemic. People you trusted, like the superintendent, were spies. The 2006 movie, The Lives of Others, is set in the GDR during that time, and everything about that period is antithetical to what a free society demands. Fortunately, East Aurora has a choice. There's a school board election on May 17th, and I encourage everybody in this room who can vote for parents who demand no more spying. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Paula, I'm sorry, Paula Vanderall? Pardon my pronunciation.
Hello, my name is Paula Bondero. I'm the owner and director of Duck Duck Goose Child Care Center, which has been in business for 24 years. I am here to discuss my concerns regarding the possible expansion of the UPK program at Parkdale Elementary. Our business model at Duck Duck Goose is set up to care for 39 preschool children ages 3 to 5. We have 2 preschool classrooms that make up almost half of our center, which is licensed to care for 98 children in total. I was a little caught off guard when we received the UPK application in the spring of 2021, as I had no prior knowledge that this was something that the district was looking to do. At that time, we were struggling to meet staffing needs, and the pandemic presented its own set of challenges. For these reasons, we did not pursue the application process. As staffing continues to be a challenge for us, and of course all businesses, it is not in our best interest to make the changes that the UPK process entails, nor were we offered the opportunity to do so this year. In the fall of 2021, when UPK was opened up to 54 students, we took a hit to our enrollment in the preschool classrooms. Looking into the future with the possibility of 94 students attending the pre-UPK, this will potentially wipe out most of our clientele and put our business at risk of closing its doors. The district's mission is to provide education to the community, but please recognize that it could be at the expense of the community that we are trying to serve. What do we tell the families who need childcare for their younger children when we can't sustain our business after the loss of half of our students? I am hopeful that you will reconsider the option to move forward with increasing the number of children accepted into the UPK program. Please consider how it will affect the future of small businesses that have been here for the community and the families we currently serve and have served for so many years.
Thank you very much for sharing your perspective. Yes, Mr.
Ms.
Russ.
Vander, I just want to let you know that we will be putting out an RFP
Okay.
because what happened is that the increase in funding just came to us in the new budget. So it's very similar to, as it did last year at the very last minute in the spring. Funding came to the school district. It was approved to be increased for this year. And so we're just starting that process. So the RFP will be going out, I believe on Monday.
Thank you very much. We recognize and we are so impressed with how quickly the district has moved through the process because the opportunity presented itself so abruptly. And thank you for sharing the perspective of the other
So you
side.
are moving forward. So you are saying that you will be offering it to parents that have applied and were denied based on the lottery?
Mrs. Vander, could I ask, I'm going to suggest that you follow up with the superintendent separately. Is that all right?
How about if I'll give you a call tomorrow?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Don Bona?
Dawn Bona, 283 Greenwood Court. Kudos to parents and the district on the field trip issue. At the last board meeting, a parent spoke factually and respectfully about issues relating to a high school field trip to a local theater production. She did so after hearing from other like-minded parents who spoke to their children and providing documentation to the principal. Her concerns included the fact that the mature content of the production may not be appropriate as a curricular experience, and several students would be excluded because of the theater's vaccine policy, and that parents were wrongfully advised that a student version would be provided. Some parents believe that children of this age should be able to view mature sexual content, and they should trust teachers to make these decisions for them and that it's permissible to exclude unvaccinated students. Opinions are one thing, compliance is another. In fact, the federal government has laws protecting students and discrimination in access to the curriculum. This includes school-sponsored field trips. And the New York State Commissioner has criteria requiring the class field trips can only be funded with taxpayer dollars when, among other expectations, the content is recognized as appropriate for all academic credit and open to all. The principal wisely canceled the trip and recognized that the appropriateness criteria needed further investigation, but he was clear that the open to all criteria was violated. The parents had the right to express their concerns, and the district had the right to act ethically and in compliance. This is how local parent engagement and district decision-making should work, and I hope we see more of it. The controversy should have been avoided had there been better transparency between home and school about the mature content and truth concerning a non-existent student version. Much of the concerns could have been allayed. Had another well-respected production been open to all students been selected, this would not have been an issue. And had there been a policy to guide teachers on teaching controversial subjects, the teacher may have proceeded differently. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Mrs. Bona. Mrs. Horning.
Becky Horning, South Wales, New York. According to the front page article in a recent East Aurora Advertiser, Brian Russ spent $600 of taxpayer money on a private investigator's report of attorneys at a local law firm and a group of private citizens. He admits the investigation was useless. He says, "It didn't give me much information." What a terrible waste and exploitation of the taxes we pay to the district. Whether 600 or 6,000, why would a superintendent authorize the public's money be used on secret investigation of citizens? How is a BOCES service for investigation of student residency or a private investigation firm that surveils employees for misconduct be appropriate for investigating parents and a law firm? Are East Aurora teachers aware they can be subject to covert investigations if the superintendent is so inclined? As a matter of fact, Brian Russ, Joanne George, and other admin were witnessed doing their own private investigator work, taking pictures of my car and license plate parked on Main Street in front of the middle school in August on the day of a board meeting. On another occasion, Bill Roberts gleefully videoed myself and two other parents in the high school parking lot on the eve of the perceived
Mrs. Horning,
threat.
I have to remind you that we cannot speak about individual folks in the district. So if you could please avoid names, that would be great.
I can do that. Thank you.
Titles also, generations, and the whole humans. Thank you.
Okay. On another occasion, a high school principal gleefully videoed myself and two other parents in the high school parking lot on the eve of the perceived threat after the board evacuated high school premises, but left all students and staff in harm's way. By the way, there was no police report of a threat. What evidence do you have of a threat? Anytime that funds are mismanaged or diverted away from student learning, citizens have a responsibility to ask why. EA guardians ask why public funds have been spent repeatedly over the past decade on administrators' trips to Disney World for values and vision workshops that could have been provided locally. However, their values and visions portion of the website may not have been updated since 2018. EA guardians wonder why the district achieved a fiscal stress designation by the state in the 5 years from 2015 to 2019, a rare designation for a low need, high wealth district. EA guardians are perplexed as to why the district's 2021 audit
Nearly time,
report.
Mrs. Horning.
I'm sorry?
Nearly at time.
Okay. Why is the superintendent listed as the highest compensated in Western New York at more than $300,000 when an additional retirement payout of $185,000, especially for one of the smallest local districts where teacher salaries
Thank
are
you,
at the
Mrs.
bottom
Horning.
tier
Thank
and
you, Mrs.
student
Horning.
achievement is declining?
Thank you, Mrs. Horning.
You cut
Appreciate
me
your
off
comments.
several times. I know I was under 3 minutes. Thank you. Beware, they were watching you too.
Thank you all for your comments. I would like to remind the board that we also received emails from Mrs. Cole on April 8th and 12th, one regarding the field trip to the Irish Classical Theater and sex education standards, another one on links to comprehensive sex education in the Senate bill. We received an email from Mrs. Horning on April 14th regarding surplus and obsolete technology equipment disposal. We received an email from Mr. Larry Grisanti regarding a desire for us to come to an agreement between the district and the East Aurora Faculty Association, and from Paula Vandero regarding the additional UPK classroom that we just heard about this evening. Did you all receive your email?
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item 9, reports and discussion items. Item A, Mr. Russ and Ms. George will present the proposed 2022-2023. So we're going to back up and let's do the grid first.
Because we have two meetings, Ms. George did hers last meeting. I'm just going to follow up with the grid. You all should have it in front of you. This will just take a moment. Okay, so just remember on the top, negative is good and positive is bad. You're going to see that salaries and benefits are trending to slightly over budget. The benefits comes from the fact that a lot of the grant positions, it's extremely complicated to also pay for benefits out of grants, so all the benefits are paid for out of the general fund with the salaries paid out of the grant. The swing in the salaries line comes from this need for some additional aids, plus the filling of a technician in the tech department. That was in the budget for the whole year, but has not been filled until now. So up until now, it's been marked as a savings. But now, obviously, we have to pay the person, and so we go from there. Supplies is looking good, about $100,000 under budget. You're going to see contractual. That's only about $2,600 over budget, which looks way better than if you go back to January, where it was about $200,000 over budget. I told you back in January that that 200 tied out to the 250 below it due to BOCES. However, BOCES continues to come in under budget, so to the tune of 325, and the overage actually continues to come in less over budget to the tune of saving about $197,000. So all of that continues to work out tremendously in our favor. Transportation is trending strong as well. So in terms of expenses and manageable controls, we are currently at about $288,000 to the good under budget. The next section is revenue. Revenue here, plus positive is good, negative is bad. So the new number, property tax items, a couple things had to get reconciled. So that 31,000 that I told you was the final number. We got further information from the state. 19,000 is now the final number. State aid, that is coming in way stronger than expected to the tune of about 150 to the good. The next one, Erie County sales tax, you're going to see that's coming in way stronger than expected to the good of about $500,000. However, I caution you that was not due to bad budgeting. That's due to, unfortunately, the high cost of gas and the gas tax. That is the main driver of that. So each year we've done this grid, we seem to have found a different hat to pull a rabbit out, a financial rabbit out of. That seems to be the one this year, but don't assume that that's a thing, especially, and I'm not an expert on it, but there's like a 7-month gas tax holiday coming up. That's going to eat right back into that. So that's kind of where we've attributed that to. Spending is stronger than we expected. A year ago, we didn't know we were coming out of the pandemic yet. That is good, but the recent bump, unfortunately, is because the tax on gas is a percentage, and the higher gas goes, the higher the percentage goes. The debt, my lines, other revenue, that continues to be from prior year BOCES. We just didn't use as much BOCES last year, so we're not getting as much BOCES back. Summarizing all of that, the expenditures were 288 to the good. The revenue, we are 509 to the good, which makes us 797 to the good. Again, some of that is due to factors way outside of our control, including the gas tax and Erie County sales tax, and that continues to level as we continue to come out of the pandemic. But that brings us to about 797 to the good. What Mr. Brunson always reminds us is that first 418 of that always we have to take off because that's for the appropriated fund balance. However, I do want to call to your attention, I believe in the budget as it currently stands, we have to pull 463 out of that because that's how much we're appropriating for next year. So of the 797, 463 is already going towards next year's budget. And then just that little line that's in there, COVID funds received, we have not received any more money regarding that 3.2 million. We're still at 481,000 where we've been since February. And we are continuing to spend on pace, and so we're at 370 of the 481. And that's all that comes in. Those checks show up when they show up, and the federal government wants to send them. Staffing remains the same and should remain similar. The other thing I want to call your attention to in this chart is Ms. George and I had a number of very good appointed meetings on exactly how conservative or how aggressive to be in this. We, since this chart began, decided that we would do this very conservatively and we would only put savings on this chart that we reasonably believe would be there at the end of the year. That has, due to some of the factors of the last year, come in with some unexpected quote unquote windfalls at the end of the year, and that the board was unaware of those. We have chosen with these numbers here to very much get more aggressive. So this is not crazy aggressive, but it does allow more play in terms of these numbers might go up or down. In the past, they only tended to trend in a positive direction unless something major happened. We very much sharpen the pencils to try and give you a more accurate number here. It's still a projection, but I do have to caution you that this isn't money that we feel is safe, and so we could kind of put it under the mattress. This is real money that we're dealing with, and so those numbers, in the good news, should be much more accurate, and the bad news might be a little more volatile than what you've seen in the past for this, but that should give you a more accurate picture. We're going to do one more of these in March, and then we always hold off of it in June because we have to reconcile it with the audit at the end of the year. But that goes to show you, again, I hate to say it, the cost of gas is really bad individually, but it's somewhat helpful for us as a district at this moment. So it's a double-edged sword. But that's really where we're seeing the budgeting variances on the sheet.
Thank you very much. Mr. Member, any questions?
Oh, sorry.
I just have one thing to add. At this point in time, today, as I did the grid, we're trending to be spending approximately 98.5% of our budget and receiving approximately 1.0% of our budget, just for more information.
Thank you very much.
And as Mark said, gas prices and utility prices are very volatile. So that could look very different next month.
Sure. Questions?
It's very helpful.
Mr.
Thank you.
Cassidy?
Can I, yeah, just on the increased optimism on that supplies line, over the past few months, it's been bumping up. Is there something specific that's causing that? Because
We put a budget freeze every year. We stop ordering, and April 15th, April 14th, wherever it falls. So those are actual expenditures to date, and the difference, the variance.
And that's every supply line, not just
Every
like
single
school
supply
or
line.
teacher supplies. That's every department and
Right.
everything they need.
And again, that could change because we put the spending freeze in, but certain departments have to be able to continue to spend, such as buildings and grounds, such as technology, in various areas.
and am I correct in remembering that of the COVID money, some of that was going on towards supplies?
That would be the foundation aid going forward.
Oh, okay.
The foundation aid in the new year's budget, we increased supplies to the building levels.
Okay.
But to your point, yes, so that's more of those, they're not always, we tend to think of them as supplies because we tend to think of them as things. It doesn't always code to a supply line, but more of those, what are those one-time expenses or those things we can buy. We are meeting again on Monday to do a second bite at the how we're going to spend the COVID money. A survey went out 2 weeks
It's
ago.
still open.
Yep.
And it closes on the 24th.
And then we're going to use that as a guide to kind of do our first set of amendments. So you'll get an updated, kind of we did that one-page real quick cheat sheet of where we're going to send it. You're going to get another one of those now based on community feedback and administrative and teacher.
Right.
But the money still hasn't come in since our first two checks. So we also have to be a little careful there.
All right. Thank you.
Did send in the first report was due also. They know if the reports aren't sent in, that goes up Monday. So the first report that was due of the 5, I believe, that are going to be due has been submitted.
Thank you. discussion? Thank you, Mr. Anthony. Okay. Budget presentation.
Hi, guys.
Thanks for coming.
Yes.
Okay, so here we are.
One second. We know the agenda.
Yeah, so here's the agenda for tonight's presentation. Again, it'll be an abbreviated version, pretty much of what we saw at the last meeting, just because not much has changed. We've received a little less, actually about $15,000 in state aid. We thought we might get an increase because typically that's what happens. Usually after the Senate and the Assembly get the bill, they add some additional funding. But this year they were kind of in lockstep, and so here we go. Again, here it is. It's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are, and that's been a focus for us for several years, and it's really helped us to plan and prepare what we feel is like the best programming for our students. Here it is again. Here's the values and vision. We're focused on learning excellence, respectful relationships, effective communication, and continuous improvement. And again, like I said, we've been working through this process, engaging our teachers, meeting with the students, which has been really, really great. Met twice, and they talked to me about some of the things that they would like to see change within the district. And that's 7 through 12, students 7 through 12. And so one thing that we're working on right now is food service. And so we're putting together a plan. Mr. Roberts, I don't know if you're ready to share any of that now. Maybe not. Okay.
A few more weeks.
A few more weeks. Okay. Yeah.
But
But
I'm
they,
excited.
yeah. So it's so we're working with some of our teachers who are interested in local produce and other products, and how do we bring that to our cafeteria? So that's one of our first discussions, and it's been very productive. So again, our commitment, first and foremost, is to our students. We're here to serve them, and that's what we keep in the forefront as we're making our decisions. Again, the next is exercising good care and judgment in managing the resources of our community. We want to conduct our business openly so that people are well informed. And again, we're committed to constant improvement, which is one of the values that we have for the district. So again, budget finance is a big part of this because we have a lot of really good conversations that happen throughout the year as things develop. And back in October, we have very little information about what the budget's going to look like, but there's a lot of topics you can see here that we were talking about, like the CARES Act was really important. FEMA update, what does that look like? At first they were saying FEMA's going to come through really easily. Then of course it doesn't, right? It takes months and months and multiple submissions to get it done. But that's kind of how the process works. So, we go throughout the year. We met again in December, January, February, and this is where it really kind of takes hold because then we get information about the budget from the governor, usually in January. The budget is typically passed April 1st, and that, except it didn't happen this year, first year in a long time that it didn't happen. But this is when we can really kind of start planning. It doesn't give us a lot of time, it's a couple months, and we got to pull the whole budget together. But we start meeting right before pretty much every board meeting so that we can review what's come in and we can then update in the presentation. And so again, here it is, the balance that we're always trying to, we're looking at establishing and adjusting our goals and vision. We identify our priorities and we just keep doing it. There's a trade-off between those three, and we keep having those discussions as we get more information about what monies we do have to spend for the next year, what our students need, what adjustments need to be made, staffing, those types of things. A federal stimulus, again, we've been very fortunate, like all school districts in the state have received federal stimulus money that will come to us over this period of time. So you can see, we'll get into our first allocation is $1,394,601. So that was for 2021. Right now, we expense to date just $370,000. But here's kind of what we're looking at for our expenses for this year. And that was the social worker. We needed some more math AIS support. And again, this is in response to our kids' needs. We're seeing some needs in the area of math and language arts. So we're providing additional assistance. And that's primarily related to the pandemic and those types of things. Social worker, again, we were able to put a social worker in place just about a month and a half ago at Parkdale, which has been really beneficial. Behavioral specialist has done a great job. So you can see all of these things are related in response to our students' needs. Some around technology and those kinds of things. And we're going to spend about $914,175. So here it is. So there's a little bit left over. And this is an important piece too, because like we know that the federal stimulus money is one-time dollars. And so some of the things are one-time expenses. But the other piece is ongoing expenses, the $480,000. And that's primarily related to those positions for social work and math AS and those kinds of things. So what we're doing, and working with Mrs. George, we're preparing a plan so that those will become part of the general budget. And so they're sustainable for the long term. One thing we will do is that it says at the bottom, not all positions will remain filled. It all depends again on the student's needs. So as we have some retirements and attrition, we see what the kids are interested in, like the Blue Devil Design, that new program. How do we adjust those things based on what our kids are asking us for and what they need? So reserve funding, again, how we look at reserve funding, we go back to when things were in the best place back in 2014, our reserves were at $4,782,740. That's when the GEA, gap elimination adjustment, hit really hard. We had to dig into those reserves to balance the budget. And you can see over several years, to 16 to 18, it was down to just over $2 million. So our goal was to build back up to that 4.7 and 4.8 million. And right now we're just a hair under 4 million. So again, that's something for consideration as Ms. George looks at the numbers and they get tightened up for the end of the year. Do we want to put some additional funding into reserves? One thing we've been focused on, two of them, is the repair reserve. We're going to hopefully establish a new repair reserve, put some funding in that. And that's for emergency repairs that need to take place during the school year. And then also the capital reserve. We're looking at that capital project that they talked about, which will be presented in December. How much money can we pull from the capital reserve to support that facilities project? And then, so here's the priorities. Again, I pulled up the other priorities that we've been looking at for a number of months, just to kind of get down to what's the priority for this particular school year. And you can see here at Parkdale, restoration of the field trips at the top and the restoration of materials and supplies were two key factors for us. It's been years, more than 5 years in terms of supply drought. And so we really need to turn that around for all three schools, as a matter of fact. And you can see it's on the next. And then you can see some red and some black at the bottom where it says remove 6 assignments and then add a 1.0 K to 6 teacher. So again, our teachers in both 5th and 6th grade were teaching 6 assignments. So they get an extra stipend for that. We're going to remove all of those 6 assignments, 8 of them. I'm sorry, not all 10. We're going to remove 8 of them. And then we're going to hire a teacher. And so there's an offset there, which actually will be a gain for the district financially. And then again, we're going to decrease the budget for the ALC. The Academic Learning Center is still going strong. But what we've realized is we over budgeted. And so now Ms. George feels comfortable that she can pull that money back. We've got a couple of years of what's actually costing. And so there's a little bit of savings there as well. So we go into the high school, again, materials, supplies, field trips, the PTOs. I'll just say this, shout out to PTOs. They've been handling the field trips for the district for many, many years. And we're so grateful for all that, because they have to do a lot of fundraising to make that happen. Because you can see here, it's $8,000, $8,000, and $14,000. So it's about $30,000 that they raise each year just to support field trips. We're taking that back because it is the responsibility of the district, and we're grateful they were able to help us out. And then a business teacher, and that's related to the new program, the Blue Devil Design. We're going to remove in special education. Okay, so we had 10 teachers taking an additional assignment, and that's just what we needed to do to fulfill our obligations to our students. So we're going to pull that back, and we're going to hire 2 full-time people. So we're going to have 2 more full-time people to pick up those. Yeah, 2. Well, 5 assignments each, so they'll have so you can see there's a little bit of an increased cost for us, but only about $9,000. So we really think it's a better way to approach it. But we're really grateful when teachers pick up those assignments, because sometimes we have 1 extra class of science or 1 extra class of social studies. So we're grateful that the teachers are willing to do that. Again, in athletics, the unified basketball we talked about, which is really off to a great start. A huge interest and participation from not only the players, but from students and faculty who are out and supporting the program. It's super great, and if you can make it to a game, I think you'll really enjoy it. It's a short season, though. That's the one thing. So it's only have just 3 home games and 3 away games.
Does that include Kish and Howard?
I don't. Well, it does, because it includes our class here, which is it's multi schools.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So restoration materials and supplies, the athletic director, yeah, it looks like we're gonna go internal again, so we're still working through that process, so we'll have it. But that looks like the direction we're gonna move in. Buildings and grounds again, Mr. Wicks and his crew have been really great about tightening their belt for many, many years, and so realized we have to buy some new equipment, purchase a new van, those kinds of things, because the other equipment was really past its life. And the electricity budget line, that's a big issue for us. The utilities are really showing significant increases, and so right now we're looking at an estimated of an increase of 66,973, which is really unusual. It's done a great job managing those. Our supply budgets, because of efficiencies it built into the system, have actually really stabilized until now. So it's a big expense. But yeah.
That's one of the things that are very, very volatile right now. National fuel, gas, gas for our cars, and electricity. Very, very volatile right now. And that is a cause for that huge increase.
So our capital outlay, again, we're going to go with $100,000. We thought we were going to be able to go, they were going to increase it. We really were thinking that one was going to go ahead, but unfortunately it did not. We were going to go to 175. We're going to go to the 250 this year to just kind of take it slowly. But we'll do a $100,000 capital outlay, which is really great because it helps us to do a lot of those things that come up throughout the year. So here it is. Here's the tax rate. Mr. George, want to share your thoughts?
Sure. On this slide, on the very bottom, I think tells a big story. Over the past 3 years, our equalized tax rate, our full value tax rate, has actually decreased by 74 cents. I understand that not all our taxpayers feel that in their tax bill, and that's because the equalization rate in the town of Aurora is really disproportionate from home to home. So newer homes are affected more by the equalization rate than older homes within the district. And, we don't control the equalization rate. We don't control the assessed value of any individual home. All we control is what the levy is.
So again, we do some comparison about just per pupil expenditure. We look at what we're spending per student compared to other school districts across the state. They categorize it in two ways. One, in similar school districts to us demographically, and all New York State school districts. And you can see here, we continue to be well below in terms of our overall expenses. Overall, $36,332 for East Aurora, $56,772 for similar school districts, and then $45,650. So again, we continue to get strong performance and doing it fairly economically. So expenditures. So where do we spend our money? You can see here in the 1, 2, 3rd column over is the 22-23 projected. Salaries and fringe benefits. You can see an increase there. That's related to both contractual obligations, but also probably more so to new hires that we've put on the books. And so those increase accordingly. Let's see what else is out there. You can see BOCES, a really great savings in BOCES, and that's been Marinaccio, Mazzano are doing a great job in terms of managing our special education programs and our technology, looking for efficient ways to do both. And so that's been a huge savings for us, and also has produced some really great programs, right? So we were able to bring kids back, and that also saves us money, so it's a win-win. Let's see, anything else here? Transportation, small increase. Contractual, again, contractual primarily relates to those utilities, Ms. George, things like that.
On utilities, it has to do with bringing some of the special ed back in, increasing Doug's budget that had been cut for so many years.
Mm-hmm. So here it is. So when we look at revenues, property tax levy is our primary source, and you can see the levy is tax cap compliant, actually coming in below the tax cap limit. Our limit is 3.08, and we're coming in at 2.9. Mr. Lamberti talked a little bit about the adjustment in the appropriated fund balance. The reason it's up is because we're utilizing it because we're not raising taxes, right?
Correct. Correct. The offset for not going to the tax cap is appropriating more fund balance against the budget.
So you can see here again, the state aid categories, without building aid is $9,698,242, an increase of just over $1 million, which is really nice. A little less building aid because again, it's just how the projects are coming off the books. We know that it's going to be happening in the near future. Let's see what else is there. Sales tax again is projecting really strongly, and that's related to taxes on primarily gasoline, and so that's helping us out. Not necessarily in our cars, but it is with our budget. Appropriated fund balance is up a bit by $43,703, and that's directly correlated to the difference between the 2.9 and 3.0. Okay, so our current budget is $39,489,097. There's an increase of $1,807,401. So the new proposed budget for the 22-23 school year is $41,296,498. The total projected revenues are that exact amount. And you can see here the two things that we like to look at, especially we've always looked at the one on the bottom, are the assessed value. What's the increase for a home assessed at $100,000 is about $74.44.
And these calculations are an estimate on a full value home of $100,000 and an assessed value home of $100,000, because at this point in time, I do not have all the information. I do not have the equalization rates yet, and I do not have the individual town total assessed value yet. But I did use an assumption with the tax-based growth factor. So I increased all of the assessed values by the tax-based growth factor as an estimate. So these are just estimates.
Yeah, there it goes. It's all right. Oh, there it is. Okay. So here it is. So all this time, all these months, December, January, February, March, 3 in March actually, April, and now here we are on the 21st. We're ready to adopt the school district budget and property tax report card. The next several days and weeks will be pretty busy. And then we hold our annual vote on May 17th with the rest of the districts in New York State. So that's it. Any questions?
Questions for Superintendent?
Can I just ask, on slide 14, the reserve fund planning?
Yeah.
The projected amounts, when will we have an idea of, I mean, I know that you're shopping for your crystal ball.
In June, me and Mr. Russ will make a recommendation because the outgoing board cannot commit the incoming board. So there's a resolution that we make to, in anticipation of year end and the closing of the books that doesn't actually happen until August, to fund reserves not to exceed X amount. And then once the audit is complete, we'll have the numbers. But then it all gets dated back to June 30th.
June 30th. And I guess sort of on that same thought, the discussion back to the grid on the increase in sales tax revenue being driven largely by the increase in gas prices, knowing the other shoe's going to drop and we're going to get that tax holiday and we're going to see that swing the other way. Is there a reserve that can go into, or do we just
that not the way that you're thinking? There's no sales tax reserve for like future, but this would be a good use to fund a reserve because this is unexpected revenue that there was no way we could have projected a year ago when gas was $2 something a gallon, that it was a year later going to be way over $4 a gallon. So it's an unexpected revenue source, which is a great use for funding of reserves.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
There should be on the bottom of that grid is the history of how we funded reserves the last. Still on there. Very,
And that sales tax number could change, either up or down. Right now, I just did an estimated guess based on this year's, what we've gotten so far compared to what it was last year, and I came up with a calculation to come up with a ratio. And then, you know, the holidays coming, how much more is it gonna be versus what we had last year at this time?
Right.
Thank you. Stay tuned for reserves. Other questions or?
Speaking of reserves, after being at the capital facilities meeting yesterday, I'm very happy to see that we are going to be putting money in repair reserves, because it's definitely going to be needed. My other question was, if you go to page 13, it says, what do we do with the uncommitted balance? Do we roll it over to 23, 24? When is that going to be decided, or?
We have a meeting scheduled on Monday.
Okay.
And it's just gonna be how it plays out, because we have the full 3 years plus like 3 months to spend that money. So, this was just our initial, how we decided to break it down over the 3 years to help manage the funding cliff. And it's changing, that initial plan.
Right. I see you had an example, ELA flexible seating, which I think was brought up when they had their department presentation with their recommendations.
Mrs. Marinaccio and Miss Lyons are working on that right now.
Are they
We're
going to
hoping
all
to
the
have a
depart-
quote. We're hoping to have a quote for our Monday meeting.
So are you going to all the departments in the last few years for their recommendations, or?
ELA.
Just
well,
ELA?
no, regarding flexible seating, regarding other department recommendations, we're kind of working backwards between what the proposals this year, the one-time nature of some of the expenses, the urgency of those, plus the community input. So you're about 4 days early on asking that question, but it's a really good question.
And we have a bit of an update at our next board meeting.
And I was just going to add, Mark, when he says community input, that not only went to community members, but teachers, administrators, board of ed members, community members, parents. It includes all stakeholders. So
Thank you very much.
we're taking all that input in.
So what we're seeing here is the overlap between the plans and for expenditure of the federal stimulus and our budget for next year, which are separate but buddies.
Right.
Yes, right. And the group of students I met with, that was another one of their interests was flexible seating. So they brought that up to us when we were speaking with them last time. That's some of their classes that they've experienced flexible seating, and how much they've enjoyed that, and how much they think it adds to the environment. So we'll see where it goes.
Mr. Brunson?
Thank you. On this same slide, I'd like to talk for a minute about this last slide that says not all positions will remain filled after stimulus funding is exhausted. We had talked about a plan with regard to how new positions would be transitioned from stimulus funding to the general fund budget. And I assume that plan is still in effect and that it's happening. I just want to get my arms around this sentence because help me to, I'll tell you what I think it means and then help me if I'm wrong. I think it means that if we no longer need a particular service, that we would not continue it just because we happen to have it, but that it would not relate to the financing of it. In other words, the financing of these new positions that we've been creating in the last year and that we will create moving forward is firmly planned, and that we will not be forced due to financing issues to make these reductions, but that they will be reductions based upon no longer needing that particular service. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's exactly it. So as we go through the next 2.5 years, we'll determine what programs need to stay. Like I said, maybe issues like related to attrition as people retire, and our students are talking to us about maybe different opportunities Some of the other things we talked about, like the program, the personal finance program, the advanced health program, those kinds of things. How do we make those adjustments and how does that impact the staff? Yes, but it's intended that they will all be taken care of, that we have a plan in place that will allow us to maintain the positions that we put in for the long term. The only thing that we can't control is like the GEA, things like that happen, then.
Well, yeah, yes, there could be some disaster befall the district, which would make all bets off. That I understand. But I just want to be sure we're not planning for the elimination of jobs that we just created.
Yeah.
That we're planning for keeping those
Yes.
jobs, and that when we contract with those folks, we're encouraging them to think that they'll be here for tenure 4 years from now.
Yeah.
That's a combination of that and or planned attrition, where we know we're bringing someone on the other end they go. So the net may go back to what it was, but it's not that programmatically we may lose the position. We're not going to lose the person.
Sure. Well, and other things could happen. Enrollment. If you have a significant decline in enrollment at a particular grade level, you may need one fewer person in some aspect of that program.
We have to be very clear, we have no plans of saying 3.5 years from now, you're automatically out of the job.
Yeah, good. Okay, that answers that question. I feel better. The other question I had related to the fact that when we last saw this presentation was before the budget was enacted by the state and signed by the governor. And so what I'd like to know is, did you have to make any significant changes based upon the enacted budget as opposed to the budget that we were guessing at prior to that?
Yeah, it came in about $15,000 less than they had originally anticipated.
The foundation aid.
Yes. It just
The
one
net
year.
of it all.
Yeah, the net.
of
Yes.
foundation aid, increases to BOCES aid, all the net of everything was 15,000.
So it was close enough that you
Yes.
didn't have to make significant
Correct.
changes to the budget that you had presented last time. So, and at that time you were thinking maybe you needed $75,000 more for the capital outlay project. And of course, you don't need that now. But also, you were thinking that there might be more state aid rather than less. So I mean, that might have been a kind of a wash too, in those things. And I realize that the budget itself is an estimate. You never know what you're going to actually have to spend, which this long sheet details for us. And so I appreciate the work that's been done by everyone in this room to create an accurate budget as well as we can do with the information that we have available. And I appreciate the work that has been done by Joanne and Mark to keep us posted with regard to how this year's budget is going. Because how next year's budget works, whether it will work well, is an awful lot determined by how this year's budget worked, and those monies that we need to have to put into the reserves and to replace the appropriated fund balance will indeed be there when we need it. So in my view, this budget for 2020 for the 21-22. Has been very well managed, and that leads me to be very confident that the 22-23 budget that we're voting on tonight will work and will be appropriate for what is needed for our kids and for our community. So I support it, and I thank you for the work that you do.
Thank you, Mr. Russin. Other board members, questions?
Yeah, I don't have any questions, just some comments, so.
Go ahead.
Yeah, the budget presented tonight, looks like we're looking at 41,296,498 would be the number. Having worked on the budget committee and spent a lot of time looking over the numbers and stuff, the budget offers a lot of long-term benefits and short-term benefits. It's certainly, there's some increases. It's increasing some course offerings, which is important. And I think there's a little bit for everyone in this budget, and maybe a lot of bit when you factor in another $1 $1 million from the grants. But I've met some of the goals of some of the board members, certainly the administration, the superintendent. Certainly it'll address contract obligations that we're going to be responsible for. Factoring in the capital outlay project certainly is an important piece, has been an important piece well before I got on board, obviously. And this budget works well with the grants. It's well thought out. Field trips have been added in. I just think there's a lot of good things about this budget. Certainly with that comes a price tag to the community. I mean, and the tax levy is certainly something we discussed quite a bit during the Budget Finance Committee. It was certainly a priority, is to try to certainly balance everyone's needs and what we could do to meet some of those needs and accomplish some of our goals and still be, fair to the taxpayers. Certainly the levy is going up. It's going up, 2.9%, but that equates about $700,000 in new taxes, and that's quite a commitment from the community. But it was brought up earlier at the public comment about a wealth district, a high wealth district. That's how the state perceives it, fair or unfairly, you're a high wealth district because you have high property wealth and you have income. And so they're saying the community has to contribute something to your budgets every year. Unfortunately, the times when the gap elimination adjustment was in place, frozen foundation aid, and a tax cap, that didn't work well for high wealth districts for a lot of reasons. But as they started phasing that money back in, the last districts to get the money was a high wealth district with the idea that you could turn around and tax the community, as unfair as it is, but then they put a tax cap on that. So as our finances dwindled, and it was brought up in a public comment correctly, there were reasons for that. It's kind of an inverse relationship between a high wealth district and a poor wealth district. A poor wealth district with their aid at a higher percentage, reimburse your expenses at a higher percentage. When the foundation aid was restored, slowly, it went to the poorer districts, and we were the last ones to get it. So I came here in 2007 and 2008 was when things started to get frozen, stopped, and put a lot of pressure on our taxpayers. And we still have to ask the taxpayers for money. It's not easy to do that. I know very well we talk about and agonize, but the way the system is set up and state aid is set up, the high wealth districts are expected to contribute to the budget. I mean, so there is the 2.9% levy increase. I know we had talked about that, but certainly I support the budget. I support your efforts and the effort of the administrators to really try to put something together that benefits everyone. And I do think Mr. Brunson's, talked about it. Where have I talked about it? Weaning ourselves off the federal stimulus will not be easy, but we do have a plan in place. And like I said, our spending plan will be the 41.296 million with the other million added on from the stimulus. So I just nothing but positive things to say. I support the budget, and I think we're going to be in a good, even better position next year when it looks like that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flowers. Other board member comments?
Just thank you for all your hard work.
It's amazing.
This was not an easy one.
Thank you. Mr. Flowers, appreciate your perspective very much. Thank you for walking us back through things a little bit. And Mr. Brunson, your comments are well appreciated as well. Thank you, everyone. I'm very grateful for the history that went into getting us to this place in the budget process. It's the board can be assured that the process has been thorough, that we're reflecting on where we have been and where we're going, and that we have a future plan. All of your efforts are showing. I'm very, very grateful to the Budget and Finance Committee. That is such an asset to our district. Thank you for the folks on that committee, and thank you for the ongoing review of where we are to keep us all on the same page, even in those times when we want to think it's not budget time. It's always budget time. So thank you, team. We will be voting on the budget in just a few minutes if everyone is prepared to do so. All right, moving on. Thank you. You can't hear me. Is there any legislation to come before the board?
There actually was some legislation associated with school board meetings, and they spent a good deal of time talking about it at the webinar that I attended. It's a little complicated, but there are changes that will permit individual board members to attend board meetings virtually. And the requirement, I can't tell you all the requirements because it's a little complicated, but the basic requirement is that there needs to be an in-person meeting at which a quorum of the board is in attendance. If such a meeting occurs, the board can permit other board members who are not able to be there for a legitimate reason, travel, work, whatever the reason is, to attend virtually. And they are no longer required to do so in a public place, and they are no longer required to announce where they are. The new regulations are in the budget. They were approved by the governor, and we just need to get them in writing. And I would encourage us to be able to implement them so that the board members, we have very active, busy board members, and this will allow them to attend a board meeting and participate and vote, even if their work or family commitment requires them to be in some other place.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
We are, Policy Pulse is planning on giving a model policy, a generic model policy in the next time the Policy Pulse comes out. And then that would go through the policy committee and go from there. So the policy lawyers are all over it.
Thank you.
It is on the radar. Thank you very much.
For that webinar that you talked about, Dan, any other board members who wants to see it, there was an email that came out, I do believe it was today, may have been yesterday. You can watch it, not live, but you can watch it if you're interested.
There was no advantage to watching it live, so
Right.
you'll get just as much
Yep.
watching it.
Thank you all very much. Moving on to item 11, is there any board member who wishes to remove a consensus item from the consensus agenda? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the consensus items?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. O'Weiler.
Second.
Seconded by Mrs. Malice. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Item 12, items requiring board action. Item A, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the probationary appointment of Kenneth Shaw as a microcomputer technical support specialist as detailed in your attachment or your agenda. May I have a motion?
Is it Kenneth Swan?
Swan, I'm so sorry. Kenneth Swan. I'm sorry, Kenneth Swan.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Cassidy.
Second.
Second, Mrs. O'Weiler. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Item B, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the probationary appointment of Dylan Bailey as a custodian as detailed in your agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cassidy,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Flowers. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Item C, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education accept the resignation for the purpose of retirement of Lynn Cornell, effective May 27th, 2022, as detailed in your agenda. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cassidy. Seconded by Mrs. O'Weiler. Discussion? All of them?
I'd
Yes?
just like to just congratulate Lynn. She's been with us for, gosh, more than 27.
Oh, my word.
So, yeah, so she's been a valued employee and we'll celebrate in June. But I just wanted to say today, congratulations to her retirement.
Congratulations to her. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Item D, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education accept the resignation for the purposes of retirement of Ann Lewalski, effective July 8th, 2022. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. Malice,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Cassidy. Discussion?
And just like to congratulate Mrs. Wolowski for a great career. We're thankful for her hard work. She's been a reliable custodian again for many, many years, and hoping she can join us in June as well.
Fantastic.
How many years has she been here? Does anyone know?
15.
16, 17.
Is it
2005.
2005, there it is.
Just a little math, people, just a little math.
There you go. Yeah, there it is.
Congratulations to Ann as well.
17.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Item E, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve a sports merger with the Holland Central School District for the 2022-2023 fall season of modified 7, 9, and varsity level football, modified junior varsity and varsity boys volleyball, varsity, junior varsity, and modified field hockey, and varsity cheerleading, as detailed in your attachment. So moved by Mrs. O'Leiler. Second. Seconded by Mrs. Malice. Discussion. Thank you for all of the efforts to continue the mergers with Holland. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Item F, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve a sports merger with Holland Central School District for the 2022-2023 winter season of modified varsity wrestling, varsity cheerleading, and varsity indoor track. That one we do not have an attachment. Discussion. Nope. Motion. I have a motion.
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Cassidy, seconded by Mrs. Malice. Discussion. All those in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions?
Aye. I'm sorry.
Thank you. Delayed aye. You're right there with me, Mr.
Just
Flowers.
a little bit of doze
Sleeping
off.
at the
sorry.
table here. Carrying on. Carried 6-0. Thank you. Item G, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the following repair reserve resolution. Resolved that the Board of Education of the East Aurora Union Free School District, Erie County, hereby authorizes and directs the establishment of a reserve fund to be known as the Repair Reserve Fund 2022 of the district, as detailed in your agenda. Did I read the whole thing? Nope, I'm good. Okay. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. O'Weiler, seconded by Mr. Blowers. Discussion.
Yeah. Yeah, this has been brought up and talked about at the Budget and Finance Committee. This is one of those reserves that I certainly support 100%. It works very well with the general fund expenditures, or expenditures that may qualify, unexpected expenditures, especially in the area of some sort of repairs to our buildings. And it's an expense that could be a surprise. If it is, and it's not budgeted for, we certainly can rely on this reserve to cover that and stuff. It's a safety net, but it works very well with the general fund. It's not real specific on how to use those funds. When we do spend it, usually it'll come to the Board of Ed to explain why we want to use it. And so it's a very transparent one too as well. Certainly support this one.
Thank you, Mr. Blowers.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Item H, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the resolution dated April 21, 2022, declaring the district's proposed capital outlay project to be type 2 action under seeker, authorizing and directing the inclusion of funding for such project in the district's proposed 2022-2023 budget. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. O'Weiler, seconded by Mr. Cassidy. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0.
Oh, you got the number?
Thank you. There we go.
There it is.
Oh, now I really have the number.
It's a number.
Thank you. Doesn't fit. The item I, the superintendent recommends that the Board of Education adopt the 2022-2023 proposed general fund budget in the amount of $41,296,498 and property tax report card as detailed in your attachment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Flowers, seconded by Mr. Brunson. Discussion? Thank you again. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Carried 6-0. Item 13, our next regularly scheduled board meeting is an early morning meeting on Wednesday, April 27th. That one is strictly for the purpose of, sorry?
Don't we have one tomorrow morning?
That is a workshop.
Okay, great.
Special Board of Education meeting is Wednesday, April 27th, for the purpose of casting ballots and for the BOCES administrative budget and the election of BOCES board members. And then we have the public hearing and regular Board of Education meeting on Wednesday, May 4th at 6 p.m. And your upcoming workshops are listed. Any other?
Public hearing will be right here in this area.
Right here as part of the meeting, yes. Yep, so we'll open the meeting at 6. An anticipated executive session and public meeting and hearing will be right around 7 o'clock. Thank you, great question. Other discussion? Any other items to come before the board? I have a motion to adjourn. No, we're not adjourning.
No,
I'm
no.
jumping a gun. We're not adjourning. I have a motion to enter executive session to discuss matters related to the superintendent's evaluation.
So moved.
Moved by Mrs. O'Weiler, seconded by Mr. Brunson. We will be entering executive session. We will return from executive session simply for the purpose of adjourning the meeting. We will not record the return to executive session because we will only be returning to adjourn the meeting. Mr. Manfredi can go home. Thank you.
Thank you.